Test. Hi everyone, can you hear me? Hi everyone, it's great to be here. I'm CJ from Hashtags. Now I just want to start off by saying that innovation is a big word, but innovation to us, to Hashtags, is about how can we create new bankable assets or to create more operationally efficient workflows using technology that was previously unavailable. And that is exactly what we at Hashtags are doing, which is how can we shape the future of capital markets. Now, Hashtags, we are a fintech development company. We build enterprise blockchains for the financial institutions, the FIs. So we help the banks, the stock exchangers, and in some cases, the brokers, for example, to issue a security, put it onto the blockchain, and through there to create efficiency and revenue generating use cases. We've built our own proprietary blockchain technology. We call it the Defects blockchain. We took 2 years to develop it. So even though we are technically a startup, but the technology itself is rather mature. We came out of stealth in February of this year, and to date, we have 5 clients, including a local bank in Singapore, an EU-regulated stock exchange, and an ASEAN-regulated stock exchange. Now, as a technology company, we think that it's imperative that we have a vision, a big vision, and hopefully, this is something that aligns with that of all the other participants in the financial services industry. And throughout this presentation, you'll see that this is a consistent theme throughout, because this alignment of interest is something that's been integral in our go-to-market strategy. Now, our view is that DLT technology is going to be the underlying technology that powers financial markets infrastructure for the years to come. This is not just our view, but this is what the entire world is saying. So if you see what's happening around all the developed and developing countries, the stock exchangers, the banks, they are all using blockchain technology to be closer to their clients, to give them more options, and to better serve them. In some cases, for the frontier markets especially, the FIs, they're all using DLT technology to leapfrog decades of lost development. Now, bear in mind that the initial blockchains were never designed for capital markets usage. These are the problems that our clients are telling us. They believe in the business viability of using a blockchain, but how then can they find a blockchain that can fit their operational requirements and allow them to go into production? This is the problem, and this is why we've built our own Stacks blockchain technology. We are first and foremost designed for capital markets usage. We've designed a variety of use cases, not by ourselves, but in conjunction with our partner financial institutions. And they love us because of our ability to create a modular, programmable business logic that fits their operational requirements. At the same time, the regulators love us because we are able to support their regulatory requirements by giving them a veto privilege on the blockchain. We're also production ready, and we're extremely fast in terms of speed to market. We've deployed an entire blockchain solution for an EU-regulated stock exchange within 100 days before. We have both the underlying Stacks blockchain technology and also the front-end business user interfaces, which, as you can imagine, makes it very easy for a non-technical business user to not have to code in their actions using command-line interfaces. And we literally signed one client simply because of this. Lastly, we are a connected network of FI participants. And this has been down to our ability to create a solution, a blockchain solution, that can interact with legacy systems and with traditional securities. And also because of our ability, as I said, which is how can we align our vision with multiple parties and to bring them together onto our Stacks blockchain. These are some of the use cases that we have co-developed together with our partner FIs. Broadly speaking, we separate them into, are they efficiency generating, which is a much lower hanging fruit, or are they revenue generating, which is more interesting, as you can imagine, but harder to achieve. So these are very niche areas of capital markets. So for example, things like structured products, collateral management, rehypothecation, etc. At the same time, we have also been involved in more ecosystem-based projects. For example, the creation of a digital stock exchange ecosystem, the creation of a digital bonds hub, and the creation of a digital mutual funds ecosystem in Africa, in EU, and also in Asia especially. We've also been invited as one of the few DLT providers to be part of Project Ubin, which is the MAS, Singapore's regulators, the MAS flagship project for deploying currencies and securities onto the blockchain. And all of this has been made possible because of our ability to align our vision with structurally important financial institutions, such as the stock exchanges and the CSEs, and strategically important financial institutions, such as the central banks and the regulators. This has been our engagement traction since the past 6 months that we came out of stealth. We've spoken to over 150 FIs, exchanges, banks mainly, brokers, and a few insurers. We've gotten 5 clients to date, paying clients. We've also have verbal commitments from, I would say, about, can't see the number there, but it's about 9. We've got about verbal commitments or whereby the proposal has already reached the board of directors, and where we are hoping to close some of them within the next few quarters. These are some of our selected clients. We've got the largest local bank in Singapore, which, as you can imagine, is extremely strategic for us. We've gotten the stock exchanges in Malaysia and in Gibraltar, which is again strategic for us because we can then tap into the entire network of banks, broker-dealers, etc. They are all within the stock exchange. We also work with a few selected partners, for example, AWS and HP, from a reselling point of view. We also work with Nasdaq Technologies, which makes a lot of sense, given that Nasdaq Technologies sells white label exchange solutions, but they don't have a blockchain, which is where we come in. We're also one of the few founding members of OpenNotes, which is the Singapore government initiative to promote blockchain within the nation itself. And this gives us a lot of credibility, bearing in mind that the other few founding members are guys like Temasek, like MAS, Enterprise Singapore. We're also part of the IMDA Sparks Green Lane program, which gives us priority access and a lot of credibility when dealing with procurement with the financial institutions. Lastly, this is the management team. We have got a right blend of both the capital markets guys and also the tech guys. So for example, Jay, our managing director, he comes from Deutsche Bank on the trading side and the asset management side. And he also comes from MAS, which naturally opens up a lot of doors for us. We've got Kun Jim, who's on the top right, who is the founder of the Thai Bonds Market Association, which opens up the entire Thai bonds market for us. We've got, for example, Andrew Pell, who is ex-CEO of UBS Singapore. We've got Joanne, who comes from GIC, Aviva KGI. And on the tech side, we have guys like Ken and Jin, who comes from Google and Oracle. Myself, I'm ex-VC. I was managing $1 billion in the 4th fund before I left. And the rest of the team, we are 47 people strong in total. And that's it. I'm not here to sell you anything, just the future. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Very much looking forward to the questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, CJ. We'll take a couple questions from the judges, if we have them.
Sure. So thank you so much for the presentation. So one of my questions is on the 5 clients that you have. Are they all paying, and are they all live yet? And if not, what is the average time to implementation and go live?
Yes, sure. So for Gibraltar Stock Exchange and for Juno Services, they are full deployment, 100% on the DLT. For DBS and Bursa Malaysia, for example, they are on POCs. So for Gibraltar Stock Exchange, we deployed the entire solution within 100 days. So this includes things like...
But so all 5 are paying clients, though?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, and how long is the implementation time for those other clients?
So for Gibraltar Stock Exchange, you mean, or for DBS, for the POCs?
The POCs.
So for POCs, it's very easy. If you include the lead sales generation time, so for example, for Bursa Malaysia, because of the nature of the market itself, it was a 12-month process with them, whereby we actually had to educate the entire market because that is the stock exchange in Malaysia. Subsequently, once we signed up onto the POC, which we just did last week, literally you can do it the next day because we actually host it on a cloud server. So you just provide them with access passwords, user accounts, and then they can just go in, simulate a bonds or equity deployment, for example.
So just 2 quick questions. First is about, you mentioned about the ecosystem projects. Can you share a bit more? Second is about funding. So is this self-funded, or do you have like some investments from some other VCs, etc.?
Sure. I absolutely love the ecosystem question because that's when we can actually showcase one of our projects. So the context was that we can go to a financial institution, a bank or a stock exchange and say, hey, these are some of the use cases that we have co-developed before. Or if you have a solution or a problem that you want us to find a solution to, we can work together to find that. Naturally, that did work for us, but we realized that if we were to partner, and this is why I keep saying alignment of vision over here, if we can partner with a structurally or strategically important financial institution and help them to build an ecosystem around themselves, that is much easier for us. So in this context, which was, instead of us finding the investment bank or the stock exchange, we actually went to find an issuer. The background of this issuer is that they are a quasi-sovereign wealth fund with AAA credit rating, and we went to ask them, can you issue some bonds onto the blockchain? Naturally, as you can see, they are sovereign wealth funds, so there's a more nationalistic agenda. So they say that is not an issue because they believe that blockchain and AI are the way forward. But they wanted something that was more meaningful, something that was more purposeful. Is there a bigger vision? So through the conversations that we have with other financial institutions within a region, for example, SGX, we see that there's a narrative around bonds because SGX wants to create a bonds hub in Singapore since forever. Bursa Malaysia wants to do a bonds hub since forever. Maybe because SGX wants to do a bonds hub and they want to copy it, right? Same for Bank of Thailand. The Asian Development Bank also wants to create a regional bonds hub in this part of the world. So we saw that there was a narrative there, and then we thought, can we create a bonds hub in Singapore using DLT technology? So then the question is, can we establish Singapore as the jurisdiction of choice for bond issuances regionally and even internationally? So because of that, this actually spun out to a very big ecosystem project whereby we have the issuer coming in. We've got 4 banks that jumped in straight away because this is a AAA credit rating. And that's how we built the ecosystem. And the approach that we took was very much like an investment banking mentality because we came from capital markets, right? But even though we're on the tech side now, we take that mentality of how can we broker a deal together? How can we align our vision with the other participants within the ecosystem? So that's what I mean by some of the ecosystem projects that we've been doing. And John, sorry, your second question? Funding. So we have been seed funded before. So we were seed funded for $1 million, and we are also revenue generating. So we were seed generated for $1 million, and to date, we have $1.8 million. We are looking for a 25%, we are selling 25% of the equity for $3.8 million. That's about a $15 million valuation. Bear in mind that this is naturally a startup, but the technology itself has actually been built for over 2 years.
Cool. Thank you very much, CJ. And give it up. Very nice.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Okay. Next up, we'll have a presentation from Visor. My man. Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, thank you. Thanks once again for having us on the stage presenting. So my name is Gabriel from Visor. What we do is we create artificial intelligence software to make factories self-aware or smart. So the problem that we are tackling today is high-volume manufacturers who lose up to 40% of their yearly revenue just on cost of poor quality goods. You marry that with the two verticals that we've been targeting over the last year, which is the solar and the semicon industry, loses up to $65 billion just in defects every year. You marry that with the fact that the market for analytics in high-volume manufacturing is growing at a compounding rate of 55% every year. This is the reason why we believe there's a huge market for our software. So in today's manufacturing landscape, why is it so hard for manufacturers to identify and prevent defects? Number one, manufacturers actually collect a lot of data, even terabytes of it every day. But the problem is that they don't clean this data, they don't store it well, and they don't really benefit from this data. Number two, a lot of the factories today, even though they are highly automated, actually monitor their production lines manually. So this actually is very time-consuming, number one. And number two, it is very difficult for them to identify anomalies live on the line. And number three, a lot of their process control in today's manufacturing industry is usually reactive. That means that they start reacting once there are defects on the line. So that makes it very inefficient. All right, so how can our product help? Number one, we make the data that they collect, the terabytes of the data that they collect, understandable by humans. We clean it, we help them analyze it, and they can understand where their weaknesses in production comes from. Number two, cognitive monitoring. As our AI algorithm understands their factory more and more, it can actually tell them if there's any anomalies happening in the factory or in the line. And number three, it makes their process control proactive, giving them greater efficiencies and greater savings. Right. So this is our founding team. Our CTO is Long. He has built data pipelines for big companies. He also studied in Stanford. Our CEO is Subi. She did her Masters of Engineering in NUS. She also has working experience with Micron and Seagate. And our main advisor is Mr. Pai. He's been in manufacturing for 30 over years, and he's really helped us with opening doors and helping us with warm handshakes with some of the very big manufacturers. So yeah, this is currently where we are at today. We have two full line integrations, one with a local Singaporean solar company called REC, and the second one with Renewsys, which is an Indian solar manufacturer. Both these companies combined have a yearly revenue of about $400 million US, and we are currently analyzing roughly 1.2 billion solar cells every year. On top of that, we have 4 more confirmed projects with solar manufacturers, and we have 6 more currently awaiting trials and POCs. We are also in talks with 2 equipment suppliers to partner up, or even for them to license our software. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. And we're getting data from 7 different organizations. So our current customer acquisition strategy for the past year has been, for the first 5 to 10 customers, was to go direct to manufacturers and speak to them directly. We're currently about halfway there. I think we're about almost 6 customers, and after that, we were actually going to go direct to equipment suppliers to partner up with them to get them to use our software, to directly integrate our software into their machines. And why will we win in the long term is, number one, we have a first mover advantage in this industry. Number two is because of the data that we keep, we actually have a huge network effect over the verticals, especially the solar and semicon vertical. We have a unique team, which has a blend of manufacturing, process engineering, and also machine learning. And because our product roadmap will give our customers long-term value over the long run. Thank you.
All right, round of applause for Gabriel. Thank you very much. We'll hand it over to the judges for a few questions.
Hi, thanks, Gabriel. Can you explain exactly what your product is doing? Give me an example. Are you using computer vision at the point of manufacturing and identifying anomalies during that phase? And can you also talk to me about how you integrate and how you charge, how you make money?
So first part of the question is our software at the point of the QC point, the quality control point of the manufacturer, will look at the part that they are manufacturing and tell them whether it's defective or not. Yes, through vision. Yes, through vision, through images, right? Sorry, what's the second question? And
second question, I wanted to know how integration with clients, and then how you charge.
Okay. Integration can go 2 ways. One, it depends on the customer. So some customers, they prefer us to integrate directly with, like for example in solar, their electroluminescence machine, which looks at the solar cells and sees if it's defective. Or we can also build it as a standalone machine. Right, so 2 ways, and we charge roughly $50,000 to $100,000 per line integration. Yeah, depending on the complexity.
Can you talk a little bit about the competitive set within your space, and then how you would compete against the much larger players like the Schneiders, the Johnson Controls, et cetera, in the world?
Okay, the current main direct competitors we have are these equipment manufacturers themselves, because a lot of their machines come with visual inspection systems. However, their machines, their visual inspection system, few things are not very accurate. And number two, if if a customer has upgraded their product, that means he has new features, or they have identified new defects, they actually take quite long to retrain their model. So, yeah, I've spoken to a few customers personally, and they have actually said like it's a German company took like almost 2 months just to retrain their model when they had a new product feature. So this actually slows them down quite a bit. Another thing about for us, because we use something called transfer learning. So we actually need much less images to retrain our model. So we can actually do it in a much shorter time, like a week. Yeah. So that's one of our competitive advantages.
Any other questions? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Round of applause. Yeah, all right. Okay, next up we got Merkle Labs.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mrigank, one of the co-founders of Merkle Science. So we provide a risk monitoring solution for law enforcement agencies and cryptocurrency exchanges to detect and prevent illegal use of cryptocurrencies. In 2018, $76 billion worth of Bitcoin was involved in illegal activity. This isn't just theft, but includes money laundering, terrorist financing, ransomware, and much, much more. Now, this is why banks and regulators are wary of cryptocurrency. So I've worked at a crypto exchange, and I've seen this firsthand. Whenever a crypto exchange loses their bank account, they lose potential revenues of over $5 million in a single year. Now, 2017 was the year of the ICO. 2019 will be the year of cryptocurrency regulation. Not just Singapore, but the EU and everywhere else in the world, they're regulating it. FATF will be implementing the June 2019 AML guidelines by next year, which makes every single financial institution who uses cryptocurrency a customer. All these customers will need a new age tool of compliance to track cryptocurrency source of funds. Now, our technology is complex, but the solution is simple. Exchanges don't know when criminals send them Bitcoin. We help them solve this by using network analysis and blockchain research. So here's a quick product video and how it looks. Hey, the slides is stuck. Yeah. Yeah, so this is a quick product demo of how it works for a crypto exchange.
Hi guys, I'm here to show you a quick demo of our product. Over here you can see a list of transactions provided to us by a customer. Our system has detected ransomware on some of them, which is why the case by default is open. Users can click on any one of these transactions, and our system will show you a high-level overview of what this transaction consisted of. As you can see at the bottom, we also have a transaction graph that allows you to manually trace where these funds have come and where they're going. You can see the entity involved. We also have a simple case management tool, which you can access over here on the right, edit case. This allows you to put any comments associated with the transaction in question. You can also attach any files, for example, a police report. And assuming you're satisfied, you can close the case, submit. And there you have it. Merkle Science in a nutshell. Thank you. Hi guys, I'm here to show you a quick demo of our product. Over.
Yeah, so basically all those in the blockchain space here already know about blockchain monitoring tools. But just looking at on-chain data isn't sufficient because there's privacy protocols coming about and Lightning networks gaining popularity. So what we do is combine that with off-chain data, like your device fingerprint, your HTTP cookies, for better detection of criminal activity. Now, our business model is simple. It's an enterprise SaaS model based on number of transactions that they monitor. We're just 10 months old and are already working with some of the largest exchanges in Southeast Asia. We have strong relationships with regulators, not just in Singapore, but in Hong Kong, as well as Malaysia and Indonesia. And we've also labeled over 60 million blockchain addresses already. Now, to deliver to them, we have the perfect team. My co-founder, Nirmal, has previously worked as a fraud data scientist at PayPal, where he built machine learning models to detect online fraud. I drove business expansion for Luno, a Naspers-backed cryptocurrency exchange as we scaled from 5 countries to 40. Our advisor, Alan Day, is head of Google's Open Blockchain Data Initiative. So he helps us a lot with our data engineering challenges. And not just that, we've got some of the best investors, not just in Singapore, but globally. All of you know SGI and Golden Gate, but Digital Currency Group is one of the largest crypto investors in the world who've invested in Coinbase, BitGo, and pretty much the entire ecosystem. Now, for us, our vision is simple. We believe that by 2025, every credit card transaction or bank transfer will use cryptocurrencies or the blockchain in some way or the other. Now, as the entire financial services industry moves into this space, banks and regulators play a very important role. Our vision is to be the layer of trust between banks, regulators, and blockchain companies. We're Merkle Science, and we're building security for the future of finance. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hand it over to the judges for some questions.
So good presentation. So how do you make money? How do you charge? Who's your target customer? What does that look like?
Right. So we have a bunch of segments. So cryptocurrency exchanges are one of our customers. They use this as a compliance tool to make sure that the Bitcoin they receive isn't shady. And law enforcement uses this to track criminals who steal cryptocurrency. And banks and regulators are an emerging section. So they use our tool, a blockchain monitoring tool, to analyze exchanges that they might want to license or banks might want to onboard as clients to make sure that they have clean funds.
So wait, out of those 3 segments, how many clients do you already have in each one?
Right. So among cryptocurrency exchanges, so we have 4 paying customers and 10 who are using the product already in the POC stage. And among law enforcement, there's 2 people who are using us. And among regulators and banks, so we started with digital banks because all the others have a longer sales cycle. So we're still in the POC phase because, like I said, we're 10 months old. So we're focusing on the first 2 segments, law enforcement as well as crypto exchanges first.
Yeah, good presentation. You mentioned, so let me just get this clear. So you track sort of public keys and relationship webs around that. You also mentioned, device IDs, et cetera. How do you gather that data? Is that from, the exchanges you work with, et cetera? Or how do you gather additional information besides public keys?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So for those who aren't from the blockchain space, what we do for our technology is label different blockchain addresses. So as bad as ransomware addresses, or the US has published a sanctions list to an OFAC list, and then build heuristics and algorithms to find connections or risk scores for each address. And we also combine off-chain metadata. We get that from the exchanges we work with. So all the exchanges collect this metadata to detect fraud. So this is like your mobile ID or a digital ID of the user. And they do give this, they are open to sharing it, and they do provide it to like other providers they use for credit card fraud as well.
Quick question. So how do you differentiate yourself from like competitors such as Chain Analysis that's already in US, etc.?
Yeah.
Second question, very quick one. Chain Analysis, etc., to add a new chain onto them, they take a couple of weeks to a month. How long does it take for you to add a new chain? Because there's so many blockchains coming up, right?
Right. So I think I was expecting that question. And so the key differentiator is that we combine a large amount of off-chain data. So this is how we position ourselves. So in the traditional financial world, Thomson Reuters WorldCheck collects a database of bad names and criminals for sanctions lists, whereas Gen Y companies like Feedzai and PayPal build models and collect device fingerprinting data to detect suspicious transactions. Similarly, in the blockchain space, Chainalysis, Elliptic, they're all great companies who created the space. They collect databases of bad blockchain addresses, but we combine that with device fingerprinting so that we can operate across different blockchains. So that's how we differentiate ourselves from them, the key technology differentiator. And in terms of onboarding blockchains, we pretty much take a similar amount of time because there's a certain amount of research that goes into it, as well as collecting labels for that. Now, as blockchains become more private, it'll be essential to combine device fingerprint data with this because there will be too much anonymity, or the Lightning Network would be used, so you wouldn't be able to just use blockchain monitoring for this. Now, we also have smaller product differentiators here, where we have a much stronger Asian database of local language Asian databases of Korean, Chinese, and Japanese exchanges, as well as provide an on-demand fraud analyst, which is literally a person to give them a detailed analysis for their case. And there's a new segment emerging, which is banks, like digital banks, crypto-focused banks, as well as regulators or licensing exchanges. So we're also targeting this segment, which requires a slightly different product from what Chainalysis and the others provide currently. Yeah, so that's comprehensively everything. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Round
you.
of applause. Yeah. Okay, and last but not least, final presentation of the day, Moz, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks again for inviting us to come on the stage and share with you about our business model. I'm Ping from MoreSpace. I'm the founders of MoreSpace. MoreSpace, the vision of MoreSpace is to become the largest e-logistic and warehousing provider in the region. Okay. The mission of us is actually we want to digitize our logistic partners and also provide a uniformity in the logistic industry, standardize the process so that everybody can play the same game. Our business concept is very similar like Airbnb or Oyo. We want to make them to have the same brands, so that our customer can engage us via our platform. As we understand, the market in Indonesia now is about 75 billions of logistics spending. Out of the 75 billions, 28 billions is actually used in the warehousing industry. For us, we are only targeting about the 2% of this market, which is 5.5 million by next year. From our experience, we know that there is no easy way to find the logistics services. Our customers always has problem to search for the warehouse. The pricing is not transparent. What to do when the customers or when the service provider always want them to engage a long-term contracts and fixed contracts. And the most painful point is that we have to connect to all the logistic provider. There is no one uniform platform that they can connect to. Not to mention for the logistic provider, they also have problem to sell their extra resources during the seasonal peak and also the low season peak. So that's why that MoreSpace is here to provide a platform where they can list their extra resources, share their resources so that they can achieve better operation efficiency and also cost efficiency. MoreSpace is here to provide you a solution. We want to provide you a platform, a marketplace, where your booking of the logistics services and warehousing services, same like your booking hotel from the hotelbooking.com. All our warehouse is actually audited. Okay, we will send our engineer to audit every warehouse to ensure the service level is achievable and optimized. And also, one important thing is that we want to provide a flexible term and condition so the customer no longer need to engage for the long term and a fixed term. Most important thing is that MoreSpace providing a one-stop platform where the customer can connect to us. They can see every reports, every status of their warehouse in every cities that they have. Okay, and this is run by individual logistic provider that connected to us. The business model for MoreSpace is quite similar, quite straightforward. Okay, we are only taking a successful service fee upon successful transaction. Up to now, MoreSpace has already achieved 2 million of revenue by this year end. And out of that, we actually only focusing on two sectors. One is a leasable services, one is on-demand fulfillment. But by next year, we actually will expand to more services, which we will expand to on-demand trucking, on-demand services like insurance and also cleaning services. Up to now, MoSpace already have 400 plus warehouses, but by next year, we will achieve 700 warehouses, and there will be about 30 fulfillment partners will join us. In terms of the market, we understand that we are actually holding a double-sided sword. Okay, for the logistic provider, they can join us to lease their extra resources, to lease their extra space. Okay, but for the logistic provider, they can also use us to find extra storage, extra space that they want. So whoever join us, they will be our partner. We want to grow them together. Okay, there's a lot of logistic provider in the market that is still not digitized. They don't even have a proper WMS system. For us, we have a good WMS system which can deploy within 3 days. Not to mention that besides the WMS system, we also will provide them a training, SOP, and everything. So with our platform, we actually have been enabled with AI enabled and also machine learning, so that our customer, if they engage us in the future, they can know when come to a 6-month time, what SKU, what product need to be in what warehouse, we'll be able to provide to them. Of course, with all these features and specialty that we have, we will not be able to achieve without our dream team. For myself, I have been 20 years in the logistics industry. Okay, I have served all sorts of industry, FMCG, and also industrial customer like ExxonMobil and BlueScope. Whereas for my CTO, he has been also in the telco industry for more than 10 years, and my head of sales is also in the logistics industry for more than 15 years. Of course, we have a strategic partners which is giving us our advisors, and he's an ex-McKinsey team. So we believe, the logistic future is start with us here. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, to the judges for a few questions.
I'm curious, how do you get your product or service, right, known to potential clients? How do you get clients, basically?
Actually, the way that we get our client is, most of our client is B2B, all right? And most of our client is actually through the social media where we publish. Our go-to-market is at exhibition, social media, my personal contact, and also the logistic partner that we know. Most important thing is because a lot of the logistic partner, which is especially the tier 2 logistic partner, they have not been able to digitize. Okay, for example, Unilever, they want to use a local logistic provider. The logistic provider doesn't have a system that can connect to Unilever. They don't have a system to connect to P&G. Okay, so that's why they can come to us, especially a lot of tier 2 city in Indonesia, okay, where a lot of the principal now, they want to expand their business. Okay, look, if you look at e-commerce, a lot of the e-commerce, they want to go to tier 2 city. Most of them now are actually in tier 1 city, all right? And they want to achieve one-day delivery. But in order to achieve one-day delivery, they have to engage local service provider in that particular city or remote city. And that particular remote city has no digitized logistic partner. With joining us, they can actually scale up and scale down anytime they want. During the Double 11, during the Double 9, they can engage them for 3 months, 6 months, or even 1 month services.
Okay, thank you. I have a second question, sorry. So in the world of dark stores or like these micro warehouses, right, there are some players who takes a very hands-on approach from de-vanning and unloading of cargo from first-party logistics to taking over the management of warehouse inventory inside the warehouse, and then to, of course, your on-demand fulfillment. So for your case, I know you guys are doing on-demand fulfillment, but what about for the first two stages that I've mentioned? Are you partaking in that as well?
Sorry, the first two what? Come again?
The de-vanning and unloading of cargo from your first-party logistics?
Actually, we are focusing on the 4 walls, okay, within a warehouse. Anything, the first mile and last mile, we always believe in our business partner. Okay, we already start talking to most of the on-demand truck provider in the market, as you can name it, in Indonesia and also in Malaysia. Most of them already having an understanding with us that we will actually deploy the API into our platform. They can engage the first mile service from them. Whereas for the last mile service, if you talk about it, all the JNE, C Cepat, Wahana, there's no issue for us to connect to them at all because their API is open now.
And in terms of warehouse management, do you guys take a hands-on approach or you leave that to your clients to do the job?
No, we do a hands-on approach because we have our operation engineers to monitor them. So to ensure that every day the KPI is met, you see. So if there's not met, we have to deploy the operation manager, operation engineer on site to ensure the service level is achieved. Most important thing, we have to train the logistic provider to have a standardized process and SOP.
So I'm curious about the funding position. So how much have you raised, and then what are you guys looking for going forward? And then also in terms of the profitability, you said you have a 2 million revenue right now. Is it already profitable or no?
No, because we're only running for about 18 months now. Our first customer on board with us is 3 days, okay? It's actually ICI. They come to us on the exhibition, they say, I want a warehouse on Monday, then we start at it. I can answer you the second question, which is we are not profitable now because we actually have started the MVP about 9 months ago, all right? Currently, we already have running an angel investor of about 800,000, okay, which keep us running until next year. But we are seriously looking for a pre-series A funding now, around 2 million.
Sorry, I'm a little confused. You got 800K of total funding.
Yes.
And you have revenue of 2 million. Doesn't that mean you're profitable?
No, because the revenue that we are collecting is actually our service fee, our revenue, but we are taking a service fee out of the revenue.
Oh, okay, so that's gross revenue.
That's a GMV, yes.
And then what's your
We are taking about 8 to 12% from that.
Okay, okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. All right.
Thanks a lot.
So we'll take a few minutes, calculate the scores, and announce the winner pretty soon. Stay tuned. Finally, the Startup Elevate Prize, the Innovation of Things Award, which receives 1,000 AWS credits, booth at the event next year for free, podcast episode exclusive in Pitch Media Asia, and a post-event interview with Informa. The winner is MozSpace. All right. Congratulations.